celebration. God has been so gracious in giving each of us gifts. Barry Bonds hitting home runs. George Bush's ability to speak English. He's a Methodist. My dazzling and charismatic personality. But God has overwhelmed us with the gifts given to Dirk and Carol and the heart that God has placed in both of them to share those gifts with us. And we gather here tonight for a love fest, a walk down memory lane certainly, but also to worship together that God that has worked through these two special friends and touched each of our lives in such important ways. Thanks be to God we could be together tonight. And I want to welcome our dear friend, Reverend Dave Howell, who will be our MC tonight. Dave, welcome.
I know that you feel the same way I do, that we are all so fortunate and blessed to know Dirk and Carol, and they have meant a lot to me personally, and I know a lot to the people who are here. And as we begin tonight, Mark mentioned that this was in some way a worship service, and I think, if anything, that's going to start after this first video. Because, you know, if TV has taught us anything, and I think you'll agree with me that it's taught us a lot, if TV has taught us anything, it's that any successful people have to have a dark and seamy underbelly. And I think that too is part of what we're here to celebrate. And so I invite you now to enjoy, behind the music, the DeMontes.
You might remember me as the third brother from 1991's production of The Spirit Tree, or as Judas from 1992's production of Jesus Christ Superstar. Tonight, I'll be your host as we take a journey through 14 and a half commercial-free minutes of Carol and Dirk DeMonte's music and ministry. Most people know Carol and Dirk DeMonte through their music and musicals, which have touched the lives of thousands. But what goes on behind the public facade? We've gathered stories from backstage and at rehearsals that will shock and amaze you. For 20 years, the DeMontes have led the youth of Los Altos United Methodist Church and projected an image of Christianity, compassion, and competence. Some of the DeMontes' closest associates and family members agreed to sit for interviews, and what they will reveal will leave you speechless. The DeMontes are ministers and teachers of youth, but at their core, they're musicians, like Aerosmith, Crosby, Stills, and Nash, or Barney. If television has taught us anything, it has taught us that behind the public persona of all musicians are the twin specters of bizarre behaviors and, yes, addiction. As you will see in these never-before-seen interviews, Dirk was driven by his compulsion for caffeine, and Carol's bizarre consumption of foodstuff almost tore the family apart. When did you first suspect Dirk had a substance concern?
He ordered an Octoventi Ristretto Breve, I think it was, and that's, I knew right away that he had a problem. That's of course, everybody knows that's what killed Hendrix.
What was the low point of Dirk's addiction?
When we were in Houston, Houston, we just couldn't find any supply. It was awful. We started sharing a cup. Same what to do it, diseases, and cold or flu, even worse. But they didn't have a cup exchange program. And 3 days, one little, small, short shop. It was bad. Pretty much below the point.
Has Dirk's habit affected his work?
Not too much. He hides it pretty well. He guess if you look really carefully when he plays a piano solo, the tempo just goes wild. But he starts moving and doing this. That's where you can really pick up his habit.
What does the future hold for someone with your problems?
Well, he's going to need some serious rehabilitation. I hate to use the words herbal tea and decaf in the same sentence, but it's going to happen someday, He's going to have to learn to live with that.
While Dirk struggled with his coffee consumption, Carol was driven to make ever more bizarre food choices. Can you describe some of the things you've seen your mom eat?
Well, once she was given a can of sardines, and she ate it raw. It was pretty gross.
Where did she get a can of sardines?
One of her kids gave it to her, thinking she would eat it responsibly. Well, also on tour once, she fell asleep with her contacts on, and they started to irritate her eyes, so she just took them off and swallowed them.
Just a second. So she took the contact lenses out and just popped them in her mouth and swallowed.
Yeah.
These kinds of, culinary eccentricities, have these caused any kind of friction with other family members?
Culinary what? She eats dog bones and hard dog food, and so our dog is hungry.
It sounds like a pretty long list of stuff that she's willing to eat. Is there anything she won't eat?
Well, she's not a big fan of McDonald's. We love it, but she just can't handle it.
That's gotta be kind of rough for you.
Well, yeah, because we love McDonald's, and she just won't have it.
Do you ever have to try and sneak out of the house to make her McDonald's run?
Yeah, we've tried, but it just doesn't work out.
As part of their ministry, the DeMontes spend a significant portion of time working on educating Methodist youth. Dirk oversees the annual confirmation class, and recently the DeMontes led the youth of LAUMC on 2 pilgrimages to England to visit the John Wesley Chapel of London and that mecca of Methodism, Wesley's birthplace in Epworth. We caught up with a Wesleyan scholar to get his thoughts on the work of the DeMontes and also with a recent travel on the latest DeMonte-led pilgrimage. So are the DeMontes on track with what they've been teaching the Methodist youth?
Absolutely. I know this is kind of hard to understand, but Dirk runs a really tight ship when it comes to confirmation, especially the trips to England with Starfire Mosaic. It's a wonderful experience for the youth. I doubt that there are youth anywhere across the country that know as much about Methodist heritage and its meaning, in particular John Wesley.
John who?
John Wesley, father of Methodism.
Oh, the Wesley dude.
Epworth is a perhaps you can think of Epworth as the birthplace of Methodism because indeed that's where John Wesley was born. The old rectory there was built, I think in 1709. It was actually built as a replacement to a previous rectory.
If John Wesley had a summer home, it would have looked something like this. They're like, it's not his house. And they took us through this whole thing, and our guide was insane.
Probably what you will find exciting at Wesley Chapel is the museum they have there. It has one of the greatest collections of Wesleyan, of historical records, of artwork.
So it was like we traveled to England to see his stuff that wasn't really stuff, and they're like, well, if John Wesley had eaten carrots, they would have looked like this. It was just really, really funny.
I think, again, because these youth are so incredibly well trained by Dirk, and you can ask them anything.
Which one was Upward? Was Upward? Was Upward?
I think as they go to Epworth, they actually catch the spirit that John Wesley felt during his ministry. This incredible spirit of ministry to the poor, realizing that we are all one family, that we're an inclusive movement, that we are called to draw everyone into love. You know, and I can just imagine the youth maybe even walking down to the old Anglican church and standing on Samuel Wesley's grave and listening to an inspiring sermon, maybe that Dirk or Carol were giving, and realizing, wow, this is where we belong. This is our home.
We ate at the Hard Rock Cafe, though. That was cool.
Just walking down the street.
I got a cheeseburger.
And went into the old Anglican church where Samuel was the pastor.
I had a really good cheeseburger.
I hear say that Dirk actually stood up on the gravestone and gave this incredible sermon that the kids were in tears and so moved by their connection with the Methodist spirit and the roots.
Yeah, it was a really good burger, though. It was awesome.
Over the years, Dirk and Carol's Choral Group has put out an astonishing amount of collectible merchandise. Starting with the LP in 1987, the DeMonte oeuvre has encompassed CDs, cassettes, t-shirts, jackets, coffee mugs, and stemware. The sheer volume of products as churned out by the Starfire group leads to the obvious question: the DeMontes, are they about Christian charity or corporate capitalism? When are you supposed to be collecting Starfire memorabilia?
Oh, it's not just Starfire. I collect everything that the DeMontes have put out. But back in '93, I think is when I first started. It was the Old Turtle T-shirt, and since then, it's pretty much ruined my life.
Really? Ruined your life?
It's not the money that's recoupable through the appreciating value of my collection, but just the sheer volume. I spend 5 or 6 days a week collecting, categorizing. eBay has been a huge help, but it's just a mess.
I can't believe there's that much stuff. I mean, it's only a church choir.
Oh, you have no idea. T-shirts upon T-shirts. Every year, do a show, make a T-shirt. Then Starfire alone has CDs and cassettes. That's not even to mention Dirk's recordings. We have the old bootleg recordings. My goodness, you don't even want to know how much I paid for the Sunshine Show, 100% chance of burning. But then we have the collector's mugs. We have champagne flutes from the '98 auction. Those are actually my prized possessions. And then, of course, the Starfire LP. Extremely rare. I haven't been able to find one.
One of these?
Oh my goodness, can I hold it?
No, I don't think so. Where's the money from all this stuff go?
Oh, they say it goes to the singers, but Dirk and Carol DeMonte are choir directors. Did you see the hot tub they installed bathroom?
I don't think it's for sale.
Please, it would complete.
It's just
I might be able to stop.
No. The DeMontes are known the world over as brilliant composers, lyricists, and musicians. But is that the whole story? We asked a well-known DeMonte expert and critic for his opinion. So tell me about the collaboration of Dirk and Carol in putting their shows together.
Well, Dirk and Carol, they work together to write their shows. A lot of people have compared them to, say, Lennon and McCartney. You know, you remember John Lennon was the smart one and Paul was the cute one. And of course, with Dirk and Carol, there's Carol, who's the cute and smart one. He works out really the intricacies of the plots more than Carol. You know, he does the work to really shape the shows. And a lot of people have said, well, all these shows are exactly the same. And it's true, the theme, there's a lot of recurring themes. You know, you have building community, for example, in a city, building community in a church. We have, of course, building community in a cafe, and building community, finally, in a youth group. You know, it's really amazing to see the transformation of the plot. Well, the building community theme, I would say it's a little like, you have to compare it to a Mondrian painting. You know, people look at a Mondrian painting and they say, all these paintings are the same. It's just lines and blocks of color. And you know, technically, well, that's actually true. And the same is true with Dirk and Carol shows. You know, sure, they're about community and they have a lot in common, but you know, there's a lot of nuance and subtlety. You know, for example, the show Song of the Heart. There was a roof in that show. And really, that was their only show that had a roof in it. It was also the first show in which the angry loner character really started being a fascinating character. We've heard in a lot of their shows, the angry loner. But there was a twist. It was an angry loner with a heart of gold, longing to be part of community. We have, of course, the other archetypes. There's the smart aleck character, but the smart aleck with a heart of gold. Of course, the popular guy, but popular guy with a heart of gold. Cheerleader girl, cool yet sensitive girl who understands the meaning of community and longs to bring others into community. We have a scary guy with a heart of gold. And you know, you can't forget poor person with a heart. Sometimes homeless person. All part of community. The other thing that's really noticeable, and I think no one's exactly sure what this is, over the years, the stage direction has improved dramatically. Standing in front of each other, but lately, it's really astounding how much it's a truth.
Much of the world knows the DeMontes by their music. Their songs have inspired and uplifted countless listeners. Shocked would those listeners be to discover that there is a dark side to the music of Carol and Dirk DeMonte.
I was so excited to come to LAUMC and work with Carol and Dirk. Of course, I'd met him before. I'd even taken a class with Dirk. And I'd heard so much about them and their music.
When did you first suspect things were not as they seemed?
Well, it's a little bit odd. When I came to the church, I was told that I needed to listen to all their music. And in fact, I was told I couldn't even preach until I had done that. And so I listened to Let Me Sow Love and Spirit Tree and on to some later ones like Fishtails, and it started to develop into kind of a pattern. I noticed that in every one of these shows, there seemed to be one song that didn't reflect the values of Christian community.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, do you know that they have a song about homeless people where they're called street trash? And another one, they have children, those dear, sweet children, singing about war and rumors of war. But it was in watching CJ Cafe and that song, Angry at the World. Now that clinched it for me. How can two people who show outwardly so much compassion and love, like Carol's even the hug queen, such a dark side. Professionally, I'm telling you, I think at least one of them is seriously disturbed.
That's a pretty strong statement.
Have you ever tried playing one of their songs backwards? I think people would be shocked at the hidden messages they would find.
Messages hidden in song only to be revealed when played backwards? Could such a thing be true? To find out, Behind the Music engaged a pair of technical experts to look for hidden messages in CJ Cafe's Angry at the World. I think you'll be surprised at what they discovered.
We pulled Angry at the World from the 2000 cast recording of CJ Cafe. First, we reversed the recording, looking for any straightforward, backwards masking, but that didn't provide any hidden messages. So we dug deeper, performing a phase reverse on the center channel information of the waveform, and adding a white noise dither. Currently, CJ is running a noise reduction algorithm.
Yeah, it should help a lot. I think we'll find something pretty soon.
Do you think you'll find anything at all?
No, I think it's a wild goose chase. There's nothing there. Wait a sec. I'm hearing something. You hear it? Yeah. Wait, adjust the gain and then play that. You hear it? Yeah, I heard it.
Not since the opening of Al Capone's vault have I been part of something so What are we about to hear? Will this be the musical equivalent of an empty glass bottle in an old newspaper, or will it be something more?
Here it is. Let's see. I can't do something like this.
Who indeed? Well, the answer is clear. Carol and Dirk have spent the last 20 years secretly encoding a message of Happy Christmas into their songs in a blatant effort to subliminally manipulate their audience into believing that it is indeed a happy Christmas. So what will the next 20 years bring for the DeMontes? No doubt they will continue to exert their influence over large numbers of youth and adults, spreading a Christian message of, well, Happy Christmas. For the rest of us, we can only hope that the DeMontes will continue to spread their message and that the world will continue to hear that message anew. For Behind the Music, I'm Jeremy Ware. Thanks for tuning in.
It's all downhill from here. Thanks to those who made that incredible movie. I have the good fortune to introduce someone that I'm sure is familiar to everybody here, who was the minister here of this church when Dirk and Carol came here and began their ministry and was a great support to them, I know, over the years, and a good friend to the youth of this church, and of course you all know John Dodson. John, welcome.
So this is supposed to be the worship time now? What a production, huh? I like that. I didn't know all those things about you, Dirk and Carol. Yeah. Things are serious, more than I thought. Sue and I were invited to join Mary and Roy DeMonte at Great America with our kids to attend the American Musical Theater production of the great songs of American musicals throughout the years. It was a huge production. Hundreds of kids were there. We had all kinds of things going on, and they sang their hearts out. The year was 1978, and people were having marvelous experiences then, and this was one of them. And there at the heart of the musical, as the musical director, playing the piano, directing the singers, keeping the pace up, and playing with his hands behind his back as he nodded directions, was 20-year-old Dirk DeMonte. I will never forget that evening. It remains today in my mind as one of the stellar musical experiences of my life. And there begins the saga of Dirk and his wonderful musical leadership with all of us. I knew sitting in that audience that I was going to do everything I could to be able to spend time and to work with Dirk as he grew into his maturity. I had met Carol Nielsen a few times, and when she started showing up on a rather regular basis, we knew something was brewing. After she and Dirk were married, there was a wonderful reception in the social hall, a building that used to stand approximately where Creekside Center stands today. It was a building that saw many celebrations, and this one was a particular grand one. And out of the door came this gorgeous woman and gave me a big hug, and I congratulated her on her marriage to Dirk and told her how happy I was for both of them. It was not until sometime later that the woman I had hugged was Kathy. And she never said a word. I have never forgotten that, nor have some other people. But we had a great laugh. I think that some of the others of you may have had that experience from time to time. As time went on, Dirk became the accompanist to Starfire and the pianist at morning church services whenever he was in town. When Paul Svensson decided to move back to LA and take up other duties, Starfire, which had been born in 1978, was without a director. I admit that we were wondering what to do when Carol and Dirk made an appointment to come and see me and proposed that they would like to become the leaders of Starfire and our youth program. That was 20 years ago. It seems like a short moment in time to me. The decision to put these two then youngsters in charge was the best decision I ever made. I should have retired then. Dirk and Carol became the leaders that brought life and hope and joy to all of us through their continuing tenure with this congregation. We have all been so fortunate to have been taught by them, inspired by them, challenged by them, amazed by them, touched by their music, their energy, their wisdom, their faith in God, their devotion, their creativity and song and style. What a list. We have known the miracle of Dirk and the wonder of Carol. And we, all of us, have come to love them and feel like they're a part of our family. They have shared themselves with us, and we have received more than we could ever have imagined. They travel the world on a song. They make Christmas a wonder for us to celebrate, and they create moments in time which will have eternal meanings in our hearts. The difference they make in the lives of kids has an impact and a ripple effect that can only begin to imagine. Who can listen and not feel a tear in their eye when that choir sings, Starfire never makes suns on the earth. Starfire shines on the story of birth. Starfire, make warmth with your light. Shine in the darkness of waiting and show us the wonder of light in the beautiful night. In the beautiful night. Who cannot remember how Christmas is made an even more holy season when we sing Dirk's Carol, written just for us. We have discovered Dirk and Carol are not there just for the youth alone, but also for all of us. So many stories run through my mind. Carol, Dirk, and myself taking a couple of days to drive the route of a Starfire tour and look at churches in Northern California. I can't even describe the fun we had and the root beer we drank. Of course, Carol drank the root beer with mustard, but I think the woman will put Tabasco sauce on anything that looks like it's moving. The stories we told. It remains one of those unique moments that you share and can only remember with joy and laughter. How much more? So much more. It's not time for me. So much that no time will suffice to cover these remarkable two servants of God. The lives changed, the transformations that have occurred for kids and adults is amazing. Look around you and see the evidence. You know it's true because it happened to each one of us who have been fortunate to be in their presence. I am grateful for every moment we have spent together. I have learned and grown from their ministry to me and to others. I was privileged to work with them for a great deal of that 20 years. What a time. What a trip. Finally, there were times when Roy DeMonte and I would sit alone and just talk about the two of them. We didn't seem to be able to get enough of it. Like two proud fathers and friends. I know that Roy is here tonight. His smile is radiant in this place. He always knew the secret. These two had learned how to love and how to share it with all that they met. It is God's promise, and that is what Dirk and Carol are to all of us. The promise of God in a human form. And isn't that what God wants all of us to be? The promise of God to each other. We have a wonderful example here in our midst. Thank you, Dirk and Carol, for your friendship and your life with me, and certainly with all of us.
John, and as we hear from Starfire tonight, I am told that the words are in your bulletin so that if you are so moved, you can sing along. But please be courteous of your neighbors, I guess is all.
Sisters, one and all, pilgrims of the way.
dedication of the Creekside Center when that was built. So a pretty wonderful thing to still be alive and a part of what we're doing. Well, I have the good fortune of introducing our next two speakers. They are both current members of Starfire, and the first one is Brent Taylor. Brent.
Good evening. My first experience here at LAUMC was that of Sunday school. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the Sunday school program here at LAUMC is absolutely wonderful. It just wasn't for me. I was lucky enough to be entering 7th grade right when the youth directors decided to hold a summer program for us. Thanks to Dirk and Carol's incredible devotion, the group I entered was one of just great support and acceptance. As I progressed through junior high, I continued to regularly attend the youth group and this journey, and soon found myself in the 8th grade confirmation class. Once again, Dirk and Carol, with the help of Cindy Golden and a few other counselors, were heading up the class, which soon became, despite the homework aspect, one of the most enjoyable and meaningful experiences of my life. The next year, I continued in the youth program into Mosaic, as well as joined the Starfire Choir. Mosaic, once again under the brilliant direction of Dirk and Carol, became a place so enjoyable that my high school life, despite its ups and downs, became absolutely incomplete without Mosaic. The next summer, I made the choice to attend the Starfire and Mosaic trip to Mexico, which after that experience, unless you have seen it firsthand, the work that Dirk and Carol put into those trips is absolutely unbelievable. So Dirk and Carol, I want to thank you. You truly are God's gift to this church.
It's the community of story, the community of song, the place where love can live on, where hope finds its song. Starfire is not just a choir, but a community and a family. I remember looking up to the members of Starfire as a kid and saw them as role models and inspirations. Now it feels extremely weird to be standing up here today in my final year. I have come a long way, and I know that I could not have made it without the help of Carol and Dirk. Starfire is the place I go whenever I need that extra skip in my step or shoulder to cry on. This group has been a second home to me, and the place where I can be most comfortable. This is because of the community Carol and Dirk have created. They have taught us to love the people that we are, and that everyone is special in their own way. Sounds cheesy, yes, but it's so very true. There is no other group I know that will be there for one another at all times, and no other directors that would take so much time out of their lives for a group of teenagers. Whenever I need someone to talk to, need advice, or simply a shoulder to cry on, Carol and Dirk will never hesitate to take me to lunch or coffee, simply to make me feel better. I've never met anyone else like them. Through these little talks, I've grown to be more confident, and I've begun to realize the strength inside me. I am certain that there are countless others who have had these same types of experiences. It can be the wee hours of the morning, and after a night of tears, Carol will meet you at their doorstep, already with their oh-so-famous chocolate milkshakes. Through their example, Starfire can be the loving community that it is. This group bonds together through any trouble or triumph, and there will never be a time in which any of us will be alone. We hold the love of Starfire and God in our hearts always, and are never without it. It is through the love and power Carol and Dirk give us that I have begun my own journey in ministry. They are my examples of what it means to be messengers of God and guide all others on their spiritual journeys. I know that if the world were filled with more people like Carol and Dirk, it'd be a much more loving and peaceful place. Many high school groups or clubs end as you go off to college, but Starfire is unlike any other. It is a growing family, and once you become a part of it, you'll forever be involved. It is something that takes you in and loves unconditionally for the rest of your life. Because of Carol and Dirk, this family has lasted for over 20 years, and every single generation of Starfire is still a part of this amazing experience. There is not a day that passes when I do not thank God for bringing me into this wonderful group. Starfire has created a spark that can never go out, and is a family forever. I am soon venturing off on my next adventure, and I am extremely grateful for all that Carol and Dirk do. I know I will forever miss the glances and winks during the service, the jokes Dirk plays during rehearsal, and the hugs from Carol that make you cry even harder than you were before. It is the little things that Carol and Dirk do that become the most memorable, like playing an accordion to rise and shine, or making Julia Child's impressions to wake us up. And the look Carol gets on her face just before we are going to sing, which gives everyone a sense of calmness and release. It's the little things that I love about them, and that truly affect everyone without them even knowing it. I am only one story of the millions of lives that these two amazing people have touched, and I'm honored to be here talking about my experiences. Carol and Dirk are the most wonderful people one will ever meet, but I'm sure you didn't need me to tell you that.
Right? At least a little bit. Why don't we stand up together with Starfire leads us and sing it together?
Carol.
Our next two speakers are both people who have been parents of Starfire members and also served as counselors. And the first is Harold Cottle, and then we'll hear from Jeannie McVicker.
Good evening. I'm honored to speak at this celebration of Dirk and Carol's 20th anniversary or 20 years of service to this church. What can I possibly say that hasn't already been said? Well, I thought about it. I thought I'd begin with a few memories from the last 18 years. Excuse me. Let me just look through them here for a second. Oh yes, here's one Dirk wears dress at Starfire Talent Show. Let's not go there. Another good one here. Rumors fly for months at Harold's work after Carol is seen hugging Harold in the parking lot. Took months to settle that. Let's see. Oh, here's one. Hillary and Dustin bathed together on their first tour. They were only a year old. My journey began with Dirk and Carol about 18 years ago. A short time before the first Starfire tour Sherry and I participated in. I walked into the old youth room, which is down the hall here, and there was a young high school freshman in Carol, trying to make some sense out of some homemade coffee can lights and a homegrown lighting board. That young freshman was Cindy Williams. Cindy Goldberg. Sherry and I were just dating at that time, and I was working in the laser industry. Well, it made absolute perfect sense to Carol that if I knew about lasers, I would certainly know how to light a show. Thankfully, Dirk and Carol did take that chance on Sherry and me. If all goes well, this summer, Dirk, Carol, Sherry, and I will be on our 15th Starfire tour together. Yes, for Sherry and me, this first Starfire tour began a long and wonderful and personal relationship with Dirk and Carol that we continue to treasure. 4 of us got along so well that eventually Sherry and I were asked to work with YF, the Youth Fellowship. Well, maybe it's just that Dirk and Carol needed some volunteers. Not sure. Also, 2 other young couples joined us, Brian and Sue Wallace, and Jim and Betsy Remden. We all hit it off really well together and found that we shared common values and interests, including working with the youth. We had such a good time working and playing outside of YF that a phrase was coined that lives and describes our group today. We decided that when we were together outside of YF or without the youth, we would be the F Troop. Over the years, the F Troop expanded as our children were born, and thankfully, our children have also become very close friends. So many fond memories have been made over the years, including birthday parties, Christmas dinners, weekend retreats at St. Orris, and wonderful winter weekends in Yosemite playing in the snow. The list goes on and on. For the past 18 years, we have shared our lives, our dreams, our sorrows, and our joys. Through our many tour experiences, Dirk and I became known as the Tonka Twins. We used to drive the equipment truck in advance of the group, or the bus, so that we could set up before the kids arrived, since we were always running a tight schedule. This was a time when Dirk and I could really talk about touring, about life, and about the beliefs, and sometimes in those magic moments that come with true friendship. We would just drive for miles enjoying the sights without a word. Wait, that was when you were catching up on some sleep. Working these years with Dirk and Carol, I stand in awe of the pure energy and passion that they have when it comes to loving and caring for all of our young people. There's always one thing for certain. You can always expect to see God at work in the least expected places when you're with Dirk and Carol. They are the dynamic duo of youth ministry. When I think about Dirk and Carol, I think of words like humility, dedication, love, community, sacrifice, responsibility, passion, and gifts. Dirk and Carol together and individually have the gifts and certainly have had the opportunities to have done many other things in their lives. But instead, they chose to use their gifts and talents for the furtherance of God's work in the young people of our church. I know that Dirk and Carol have sacrificed much of their own time because of their unending love and dedication to our youth, but I have also seen rich blessings come to them and to this church and our children because of this dedication. For that, I am profoundly grateful. I know for certain that the youth that Dirk and Carol have nurtured and inspired in the last 20 years will make choices or decisions in their lives or affect other lives in a positive way, in some part because of the community of Starfire and the leadership of Dirk and Carol. The seeds Dirk and Carol planted years ago continue to grow through many former Starfire members as they continue in not only youth ministry at this church and others, but in other meaningful pursuits of life. Dirk and Carol's ministry has touched hundreds of lives and will continue to affect thousands of lives in the future. The one thing I can't imagine is taking my family away from this church, and more importantly, Dirk and Carol. Think about it. Where else can you go where your children want to participate at church every Sunday and many other days? Where else do you see young people running the technical aspects of a worship service like Creekside? Where else can your children be allowed to grow and to lead and to make mistakes without fear of failure? Where else do they have the loving embrace of a community that surrounds them with love and shelter? Not a shelter from life's issues, but a shelter that helps them to face these issues, knowing that they are not alone. Dirk, Carol, as a friend, and now as a parent of teenagers, thank you so much for all you have done for my family and for me personally. I'd like to also thank you, say thank you to one other person that has supported this ministry for longer than 20 years. Thank you, Mary.
Where to begin and how to end were the first thoughts that came to my mind when I was asked to speak at this occasion. And I consider it an incredible honor to be here tonight and acknowledge 20 years times 2 of this indescribable journey. I can't speak for everyone in the congregation. I can only convey thoughts that come from my heart. Thank you, None, for telling me it's okay. I kept coming back to a phrase that I've heard Dirk say many times, and I'm going to try to say it like he says it. It's all about love. Dirk usually said it with humor, and it was received with laughter and a smile, but it conveyed the profound truth of why we're here tonight. It's all about love. Look around. This is a wonderful opportunity for people of all ages in our church and community to pay tribute to Dirk and Carol's 20 years of service, dedication, loyalty, commitment, generosity, sacrifice, all emanating from the gift of love. Love of God, love for each other and their families, love for their church and community, and love carried on a song to places such as the Soviet Union and 4 years later Russia and the Baltics, England, Canada, Mexico, not to mention love carried on a song every Sunday here at LAUMC. And did you know that they spent many hours at Springer Elementary School in Los Altos with their volunteer work to enrich the music program there? Dirk and Carol make a wonderful team. They are individually talented and creative with skills that beautifully complement each other. All you have to do is listen to the lyrics and music of Piece by Piece, Old Turtle, Fish Tales, to name just a few, and every year an original Christmas carol for our congregation to understand and appreciate this unique gift. Duncan and I were privileged to act as chaperones on a number of these Starfire world tours and witnessed life-changing experiences for all of us. Carol made us laugh, or gag, when she ate sardines on ice cream in Moscow. And I looked at my photo album, there were 35 sardines consumed that night on ice cream. One of them was mine, and it still makes me gag. This was the flip side of Dirk's pulling us all back together after being in a restaurant that was tear-gassed the day before. When Duncan and I were counselors in the youth program, it was common for us to witness the incredible difference this program made in the lives of junior and senior high school students. Dirk and Carol deal with real issues by providing programs every Friday and Sunday evening that emanate from the tumultuous lives our youth face on a daily basis. They connect with youth somewhere between parent and best friend. They enable an inclusive, welcoming environment when sometimes there is no better or safer place to be. It was inspiring to watch them identify and nurture budding qualities and encourage self-esteem and confidence when students didn't know what they had to offer. And they never gave up on anyone, not even Reverend Dave. It's all about love, immeasurable love. Dirk and Carol's leadership reaches far beyond the youth program. Dirk and Carol have achieved the dream of a contemporary worship service every Sunday evening. Creekside Crossings enriches the worship opportunities at LAUMC and touches the lives of those who attend by providing the opportunity to share a meal, worship, sing, and praise together. And yes, they'll say yes, everybody else was involved too, but Mark will probably tell you this is Dirk's baby. And how can we not also thank the dedication of all the Chili Dog musicians? I know they would want me to do that. It's all about love. As Minister of Music, Worship, and Youth, and just think of that title, how would you like to wear it? Minister of Music, Worship, and Youth. Dirk was responsible for leading the committee in search of our new chancel choir director, Shirley Hoffman. This process took us months, and with Dirk's quiet, steady leadership, our church is now fortunate to enjoy the gift and talent of Shu every Sunday morning. Carol's spiritual leadership takes her far beyond her title of Director of Youth and Youth Music. Her witness of faith is an integral part of tours to Israel and Jordan led by John and Sue Dodson, and has had a profound impact on those who journey with her. And she also has one coming up to Machu Picchu, which I'm sorry I will not be involved in. But this impact can be felt on a daily basis by anyone who comes within a hug's reach. How many of us have felt her arms around us, sharing laughter and joy, pain and grief, when there were no words to be said, only love spoken? I'm going to take an extra few minutes and read something, because Carol told me it was okay. In 1993, when we were in the Soviet Union, we visited a Nazi concentration camp, Salisbury, built especially for children. It was a profound experience for all of us. And afterwards, Dirk wrote a song for Dustin and Dylan. And I would like to just read the words to the chorus, because it really is all about why we're here tonight also. This is the chorus to his song that he wrote, called Unsubdued. Unsubdued our love will be legacy. Unsubdued our light will shine across the sea. Unsubdued our hearts will beat eternally. Unsubdued God's peace will find home finally. Unsubdued forever. Unsubdued the Spirit. Unsubdued our love is unsubdued. Dirk and Carol's immeasurable love has touched our lives and will be in all of our hearts forever. 20 years, times 2. May we never take it for granted.
Hear, hear.
As you know, many of us who have been touched by Dirk and Carol's ministry have gone into careers of service. And I know for me, a large part of that is due to the influence they had over me. And when I am having a particularly difficult day in ministry, I think of Dirk and Carol, and I think, this is all your fault. What I really think is that I thank God that I have people like you in my life. And I pray that I can be half of that for the people to whom I minister. We are very fortunate to have Katrina Hayne Waters, who is a teacher, and Susan Grace Smith, who is in ministry as a director of Christian education, to share with us.
You never know what someone will remember about you. These words were spoken to me by Carol 4 years ago when I had just started working with the Junior High Youth Fellowship. So simple, yet profound. I want you to think for a minute what your first memories of Dirk and Carol were. My first memory of Dirk and Carol is as a 3rd grader in the Sunshine Singers. We used to practice in what is now the church library. And I remember Carol telling us to sing as loud as we could so that the congregation could hear us. She would wait for the silent prayer part of his service, open the windows, and have us belt it. I see her nodding. The next week, we would squeal with delight when she would tell us how Pastor John Dotson had told her that he had heard us and maybe we could keep it down. Many of us here tonight are alumni of the youth program at this church. Some started out as elementary-aged children, some entered in junior high or high school, and some of us have even come to know Dirk and Carol in the college and post-college years. As I look out at this audience tonight, I am overwhelmed by the decades we cover and how varied our experiences have been. However, there are definitely some things we have in common. How many of us have been scolded for chatting during choir rehearsal or youth group? How many of us have shivered and yawned through an Easter sunrise service? How many of us have sat through long bus rides on summer tours? How many have basked in the comfort of a hug from Dirk or Carol? How many have experienced the genuine smile and warmth of a greeting from Dirk or Carol, regardless of when you last saw them last week or last year? How many of us have had our beliefs in God shaped? How many of us have had our lives changed? In talking to people of all ages over the past few weeks leading up to this celebration, the one comment I have heard from everyone is that the relationships made in this church's youth program have been the most significant. Many of us have met our best friends and even spouses at this church. The people I'm still close to today and are my best friends are all people that I met while in Starfire. I would never have met my husband if it had not been for meeting his sister at this church. One of the reasons I love Dirk and Carol is that they let everyone have their time to shine. If you have a talent, or even if you don't, you are encouraged to share it. For example, they often let me play my oboe, even though I am sure that sometimes I sounded like a dying duck. In today's terms, they are the exact opposite of Simon Cowell from American Idol, who seems to delight in shooting down people trying to sing. Once you graduate from high school, Dirk and Carol's ministry is far from over. I remember receiving encouraging group emails in college from Dirk every so often that were the highlight of my week. I especially remember one thing Dirk said when I was having a difficult time coping with the hellfire and brimstone Christian groups on campus. He compared the Bible to a face and said that if you focus on the freckles, you miss the beauty of the whole thing. That is something I think of often years later. When I graduated from college and came back to the church, Dirk and Carol welcomed me back into the youth ministry as a counselor with junior high program. I can't tell you how many times I have been on the verge of becoming upset with a junior hire or even a child in my 2nd grade class. And I hear Carol's voice saying, "You never know what someone will remember." And I It's one of the most effective techniques of classroom management I know of. What would the Demontes do? I always knew that I wanted to work with younger children, but Dirk and Carol have taught me how to mentor and work with adolescents and teenagers, and it has been more fulfilling than I could have ever imagined. Hearing a 13 or 14-year-old say, "I feel like I can tell you anything," is a natural high I can't even describe. Everything Dirk and Carol do comes back to serving God. They live in a way that makes other people want to know God and the joy that comes with it. I believe the reason that they have been able to build a nationally recognized youth program is that they live their lives as examples of what it means to serve God. They let us know they are here for us if we need them, and they will not judge us. They appreciate the good in everyone. They help shape people's faith by guiding us into self-reflection and meditation, but not preaching at us what to believe. Thank you, Dirk and Carol, for making me the person I am today. I love you very
Recently, Carol asked me if I thought I would have gone into ministry if I hadn't grown up in the church. Since my life is not a choose-your-own-adventure book where I can turn back to the last chapter, change my response, and discover the alternate ending, I can't really give a definite answer. However, if I look back a couple of pages and reread a little, perhaps I can uncover how some of my experiences have shaped the direction my story has taken. I grew up in a youth program where each person was valued and respected and loved as the amazing gift that God created them to be. Dirk and Carol loved me as a unique part of God's creation. They saw the gifts God has given me, and they encouraged me to use those gifts in the church and in the world. With each task that they entrusted to me, they expressed their continued confidence in my ability to be the person God created me to be. By affirming my gifts and sharing my accomplishments along the way, Dirk and Carol helped me discover who I am as a person of faith and what that means for the life ahead of me. For Dirk and Carol believe that we each have a sacred song to sing, a voice to be heard. In my youth, Dirk and Carol gave me the words and the music to sing that song. And as I grew, they helped me find the words and the music for myself. They helped me to recognize the love of God in every loving touch and every gentle action, in every story shared and every word spoken, so that in return, I could share the love of God in just those ways. There are a handful of us, as Dave mentioned, who were touched by the Demontes ministry and subsequently heard and answered the call to ministry in the church for ourselves. I think that speaks volumes about the impact Dirk and Carol have on the people they meet, both young and old. For Dirk and Carol, ministry is not a career or a vocation. It is a lifestyle, an active expression of faith in everyday living. Many of us have found that a career of ministry in the church is the best place for us to apply our gifts and share our faith with others. For me, I've answered the call to ministry by trying to create an environment where children know that they are loved and valued as incredible creations of God, and can find ways to share God's love and their faith with the world around them. Sound familiar? Most importantly, I grew up knowing that I am not alone on this adventure. Whether youth or adult, we grew up in this place together, under the loving guidance of Dirk and Carol DeMonte. We felt the power of Dirk and Carol's music and message. We experienced their love for God and all of God's creation, and we have responded. As I look over this congregation tonight, I am touched by the ways that we have each found to live as God's people, to be God's hands and God's voice in this world. We are ministers and teachers. We are engineers and artists. We are doctors, lawyers, technicians, and soldiers. We are people of faith. We are musicians. We are students. We are parents. And we are friends. We are people of faith. Dirk and Carol's spirit-filled ministry of love and music allowed us to experience the fullness of our faith and to claim its power in our lives, and to discover the ways in which we each were created to change the world. Dirk and Carol taught us that we have a song to sing, both individually and as a community of faith.
May the music of our lives be a testament to the love of God in the world and a witness to the Christian ministry of Dirk and Carol DeMonte. Praise be to God.
quick moment to introduce the group. I think they deserve it right now. I know we're a little running late on time, so I'll be really quick. We have Katie Stout on alto. First of all, Dustin DeMonte and Emily Williams on solos. Chuck King, an ever-present drummer. Yes, awesome. Bill Hare has been playing bass since he's been 2 years old. Mike Peter on guitar. Greg Berquist on guitar. I think he's getting ready to speak. And we really could never have pulled this off without Stephen Majora on the piano. And we really couldn't have pulled it off without these wonderful people right here.
And now we will hear from Wesleyan scholar Greg Berquist.
Well, we're actually running a pool as to when this event will get over. I said 9 to 5, so I'm going to speak for a while. Dirk and Carol, I have the privilege of reading a couple of letters to you and then making a few comments myself. First, from Bishop Beverly Shimano. She would like to say this to you. Dear Dirk and Carol, I am writing in celebration for your 20 years of ministry. As your bishop, I add my prayers of great thanksgiving to those of your community of Los Altos United Methodist Church. More than that, surely God rejoices in the many lives you have touched through music, word, and presence in Los Altos, as well as across the conference and even around the world. Children have grown up singing and experienced the good news under your direction. Youth have encountered Christ through your leadership. Adults have found hope in your teaching and preaching. Thank you for your dedication and for allowing God to work through your many gifts. We look forward to many, I added that, of your ministry among us. May this day of celebration be a blessing to you as you have been to all of us. Yours in Christ, Bishop Beverly J. Shimano. And also, Carol's parents could not be here tonight, and they would like to have you hear this at this time. Dear Carol and Dirk, this is indeed a very special night, one of great celebration of your work in the Church at Los Altos. We are so proud of both of you, and we look in awe and wonder at your devotion to your church and to your family. You have been prepared well, and therefore there are no surprises, because we have watched you grow and develop your unique gifts through the years. We admire your creativity and your dedication, your increasing wisdom, as you bring an atmosphere of Christ's love into your work with the youth. The years have and will increasingly show the influence of this great good in their lives. And you can know that you have been a part, a tool, in helping them develop their highest selves, their love and care for others. It is with deep devotion that we can say we love you both, not only for what you do, but for what you are. Mom and Dad. Harold, at this point in the And so I was given the task of tying it all together and trying to wrap it up. It's been a pleasure. I have been Dirk and Carol's friend. I am a Starfire and Mosaic parent. We have worked on staff together and done many, many things. And I could talk from all of those different realms, but I'm going to be a little presumptuous tonight. I'm going to say what I think God feels about the two of you. And in true God-like fashion, I decided to go to the scripture. And I found this one from Colossians. As God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, you clothe yourself with compassion, with kindness, with humility, with peacefulness and patience. You bear with each other, and if anyone has a complaint against you, you forgive each other, just as the Lord has forgiven you. You know how to forgive. But above all, you clothe yourselves with love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony. That's the Word of God. You know what I like about that? Is it talks about harmony. Lord knows, being the minister to youth, working with the crazy musicians in this church, being on staff, things never go as they're planned, and we have no illusions of ever attaining balance. Yeah? But harmony is what we share together. Because it doesn't matter how well we sing. It matters that we sing together. It doesn't matter what part we sing. It matters that we sing our part with great enthusiasm. It doesn't matter if at times we're a bit discordant or atonal. That's just creative music. But it matters that we sing in harmony. And you know what? Perhaps more than anyone else, you too have taught us how to sing and how to live in harmony. I think God chose you to be in this place to teach us that lesson. And I thank you. 10 years ago, I came to Los Altos United Methodist Church. And I was greeted by Dirk and Carol. And they, wonderful times, took me out to lunch, explained the ropes, told me about all the staff. And I still came. And they were preparing for their second Russia tour in 1993, as I recall. And they were doing the musical Old Turtle. Do y'all remember that musical? It's based on this wonderful children's book. If you don't own this, you should own this. And then you should buy Dirk and Carol's CD on Old Turtle. But I remember two things in particular about that summer. One was that lovely practical joke you played on me before you left on tour. If you want to know about that, ask me later. But more importantly, I remember... Shut up. Stop it. That was good, wasn't it? What I remember is that story, you know? The story of Old Turtle. I'm going to read a piece of it. And what I want you to hear is that this is a story that Dirk and Carol didn't just take and turn into music or into a musical. This isn't a story they just teach. This is a story that they live out among us. This is a story that they call each and every one of us to live out. I don't know, and I went back and read it again today. And I thought perhaps in your second 20 years, perhaps at this time in this place, perhaps given everything that's going on around the world, we need to remember this story even more than ever. So listen to it. But the people forgot. They forgot that they were a message of love and a prayer from the earth. And they began to argue about who knew God and who did not, and where God was and was not, and whether God was or was not. And often the people misused their powers or hurt one another or killed one another. And they hurt the earth until finally even the forests began to die, and the rivers and the oceans and the plants and the animals and the earth itself. Because the people could not remember who they were or where God was. Until one day there came a voice, like the growling of thunder, but as soft as a butterfly sneezes. Please, oh please, stop. The voice seemed to come from the mountain, who rumbled, sometimes I see God swimming in the dark blue depths of the sea. And from the ocean, whose side he is often among the snow-capped peaks reflecting the sun. From the stone who said, I sometimes feel her breath as she blows by. And from the breeze who whispered, I feel his still presence as I dance among the rocks. And the star declared, God is very close. And the island added, his love touches everything. And after a long, lonesome, and scary time, the people finally began to listen and began to hear and to see God in one another, to see God in the beauty of all the earth. And old Turtle smiled, and so did God. 20 years ago, you came into our midst, and God smiled. And you know what? God still smiles.
appropriate to take a moment to thank the committee that put this celebration together. I'd like to invite everybody who worked on this to stand, the people who put the videos together, who decorated the social hall, and who worked to bring this together. We have for you a few expressions of thanks. One is this bouquet of flowers, and another is a framed copy that I will hold right side up of the invitation to this wonderful event, and we're celebrating you. And another, I'd like to invite Nan to come forward, is a memory book that Nan has been putting together with the help of many, many people. You're going to need 2 hands for the memory book. There you go.
Years ago, I kind of begrudgingly walked up the steps and the stairwell of this wonderfully green painted area up to the 2nd floor known as the University of Puget Sound Music Building. On my way, in my 2nd semester, senior year, to take my choral conducting class. Now, I was a piano major, and I walked in that class, and every day I sat down and I said, why am I in this stupid class? I'm never going to conduct a choir in my life. I have a sneaking suspicion that did we in that class or a different one? Well, we both took it, and knowing the way we worked, they worked harder, and Dirk got an A, and I got an A-. So it always was. But what I think about that is I think we never know how God's grace will slip into our lives in great mysterious ways. And the miracle is not that we've been working here for 20 years. The great miracle is that somehow we found each other in the name of Jesus Christ. Yeah. And I thank you for that.
Real quickly, I want to just add, it's really all about gratitude. It's all about the love, but tonight it's all about gratitude. And our hearts are overflowing with gratitude for a lot of things, but I want to especially just say my gratitude to my mom and my dad. And John was right, my dad is a part of tonight. My dad's a part of every single minute that I've been in ministry and continues to be, and so is my mom. And I want to say gratitude to Jean and Orville Nilsson for having this wonderful, unique, and not so unique. Jean and Orville gave birth to a writer, a photographer, a recording artist, a piano teacher, and Carol. Roy and Mary gave birth to a potter, a filmmaker, and me. And I think just the fact that you have
8 artists coming from 2 sets of parents tells you a lot about the kind of nurturing and love and encouragement we've gotten. And also the fact that both sets of parents raised us to know that God loves us and raised us to know that God wants us to share. And the esteemed critic, David Howell, talked about there being just one story in all the musicals that Dirk and Carol have written. And I'll tell you why that is. That's because there really is only one story, and that's our story. And that's the story of God calling us together to share this fragile little planet and this incredibly short time we have together. And I am overflowing with gratitude that we've had these 20 years to share it with you, and that we're going to have 20 more to share it with you.
It is great to be celebrating this with you and together. And it is true that it is one story, but it's a great story, and it's worth telling over and over and over again. I want to introduce Christy Ola, Minister of Discipleship, to share with us.
A few days ago, and I've heard her say it more than once, Carol said, "You know what's so great about this thing? It's not about the 2 of us. It's about 20 years of ministry. It's about the lives we've touched, about the way God has worked through so many different people." She's so humble. She really is. And if you're like me, you're probably sitting here thinking, well, this has been so wonderful. What a gift tonight has been. To celebrate the gifts that they've shared has inspired and delighted us. And there's a way that we can keep this ministry going. We've become aware that there comes a time once in a while when there's some youth who would like to participate in a particular tour or a youth event. And the financial costs of some of these events, because of their excellence, can be a little prohibitive. So tonight we're going to take a special offering, and I'll be inviting the ushers up in a few minutes. And this offering will be going for scholarship funds for tours and for other youth events. And if you are moved to help continue the legacy, to make it alive through these 20 more years we keep talking about, this is one way that we can do it. And then tonight will be just another thing that's not about you, but about the ministry. And all of us can continue to live out the messages they've taught us and given us through every day, and what a gift that would be.